Hello, and
Hey,
welcome to t.w.i.c. I'm Cody. I'll be one of your co-hosts today.
and I'm LeNora. I'll be your other co host for today.
Hooray for us.
Yay!
So, t.w.i.c. stands for This Week in Child Free, and we talk about any recent articles, happenings that are going on in the child free community, people talking about the child free community. And if you'd like to submit something that you see for a future episode, send us an email at at childfreemedia@gmail.com. You know what it is. Put put t.w.i.c in the subject line so it kind of stands out a little bit. But yeah, if you see anything really cool you want us to cover, send it to us. We're happy to. And before we start, quick shout out to StreamYard for providing this streaming platform for us to play with and have all these cool toys and do all the fun things that we do with streaming. So with that said, this is live right now. On the day that this is live, it will be archived in the future. So if you happen to be listening to it in your flying car in the future, that's cool. We do highly encourage audience involvement in the live show. So if you're watching this live, type out a question to us, leave a comment, join us in the discussion of the article. And if it's in the future, comment still available in a lot of places, YouTube, whatever it might be. If you're watching this on the video, leave a comment, question, whatever, and we'll try to get back to you there as well.
And you can
So,
also email us at childfreemedia@gmail.com.
yes, you can. So let me pull up what
And while
I've
we're waiting for our
found.
latest articles, shout out to our director, Rebecca, behind the scenes, who's making this all happen.
Yay, Rebecca. All right. So last week there was a lot of, from a U.S. standpoint, North American standpoint, there was a lot of international news. I wanted to pull some of that back into this week because we didn't get to it last week. So this is a slightly older, but hey, it's good enough for t.w.i.c. So Japan, this is the headline, and this is off of dailyo.in. So Japan is facing a baby crisis with most people opting to have no kids.
Most
Hey,
people? That's a really
it's a
bold
yeah.
claim. Most people. Most people? Okay. All right.
Yeah. So let's see what we've got. And I don't really read these articles in advance. They're kind of in a feed that I get. So pardon the
And he doesn't
awkwardness
tell me
of,
anything, so I've
yeah,
got no clue what we're talking
Lenora's even
about.
more blind than she doesn't know what the next one is. So this is kind of what makes it fun. We're just doing kind of live reactions to all this stuff. So let's see.
Wait,
Is it?
can
Yeah.
you read before we get to the article? Can you read that caption? That caption is hilarious. I mean, hilarious is maybe the wrong word, but the
The
one
one
where
I
it
just
says
read?
no, the caption to the picture. That's
Oh,
where your
there's a
cursor
pic.
is.
Okay,
Look.
there's a photo for the people on podcast. You have no idea what we're looking at. Video, you can see everything that we're seeing. I
Okay.
actually do a shared screen so you can see the article. So it's got a picture of two little kids playing with, I'm guessing, some kind of a iPad or
Tablet.
something. Yeah,
Yeah.
tablet. And in the caption it says Japan recorded lowest child rate in 2022, recording fewer than 800,000 births since 1989.
Okay, fewer than 800,000 births. This is why I say it's hilarious. And again, hilarious is it's not like haha funny, but at the same time, are we overreacting? Or not we, but is this article overreacting? Anyway, let's continue.
All right.
I'm looking at that going, oh, okay.
So it just kind of starts off. This is written by a gentleman named Mohammed Bilal,
Bilal. Yeah.
Bilal, Bilal.
AL, yeah.
So Muhammad, if I said your name wrong, I apologize. So he said, and that's what the .in is, India. So in India, the adage, oh, I'm not saying that.
But it means only having two kids and good
Okay, yes,
is
thank you.
good. Maybe I think only having two kids is good. I'm thinking
Oh,
that's a
it
typo.
could be in good, like in
Okay,
good.
in good.
Who knows?
Okay.
Is being used to tell the people that less children means a brighter future for the family. Okay.
All
We
right.
can, as child free people, we can kind of get behind that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Smaller families.
yeah, smaller families, healthy, but the other part of the world, in other parts of the world, like Japan and now even China, the situation is exactly opposite. Okay. Here, the governments are requesting people to marry and reproduce children, but the population is just not interested. Scroll past advertisements. Heading, what is the issue? So it says a population decline because of low childbirth has been badly affecting Japan for quite some time now. Japan is facing the same issue which China faced a few years back, a rapidly declining population, as Child's one-child policy severely affected its population. It rolled back the law. Now Japan is facing the same problem. I mean, yeah, okay. I guess the declining birth rates, but yeah, different reasons. Japan has one of the lowest birth rates in the world. The Ministry of Health said it recorded fewer than 800,000 births in 2022. As per the data, Japan's population can dip from 125 million at present to 88 million in 2065. So if you're in 2065, is that right?
Let us know how that's going.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Try the email. We'll see if we're still there. The current birth rate in Japan is 1.34, the average number of children a woman has in her lifetime, below the necessary 2.07. 2.07.
Now, the necessary 2.07 to replenish the population, not because having children is necessary. I wish they would complete that sentence.
Yeah. Let's see. So the prime minister, Fumio Kishida, I think I said that right. Pardon me if that's also wrong, and correct me, feel free to. So it says, though this issue was in public domain for quite some time, it got a major push last month when the prime minister at a policy address to lawmakers said that Japan must take urgent steps to address the country's declining birth rate, and that it was, quote, now or never for the world's oldest society. There's a picture of him. It is now or never when it comes to policies regarding births and child rearing is an issue that simply cannot wait any longer. And if you go back to the t.w.i.c of last week, we covered the laying back, I don't want to say phenomena, but it's the belief that some people are taking in China that they're going to do the kind of the bare minimum to get by. And that includes possibly not having kids, because that would make laying flat harder to do. So if you missed that, go back to last week's t.w.i.c. Let's see. It says it is an issue that cannot wait any longer. I'm interested to see what the government's going to try to do for this. So he said that his government will set up new government agency in April of 2023, which is next month for us that are alive, to tackle this issue. Yeah. And he would also submit a plan to double the budget on child-related policies in June. Japan has also recorded the record low number of births in 2021. I kind of want to know what.
Look, we were all still in a pandemic in 2021.
Yeah, that's true. So why is the birth rate going down? In simple words, the reason the birth rate in Japan is going down is because young people are not willing to marry and reproduce.
Jeez.
I don't know if it's the term willing as it is interested. Opportunities. Does society provide an opportunity to have a flourishing family with children? I mean,
well, and also keep in mind, but they're still pushing the heterosexual narrative here.
That is true. Great point.
I have so many things I want to say, but I'll let you finish the article.
No, dive in. I'm not going anywhere.
Like, it's okay. First of all, yes, they're completely pushing the heterosexual narrative. The reason why is people realize they have a choice in so many things. They also have a choice not to hide their sexuality anymore. Now, and that's not always like India, places where it's really not accepted publicly. I mean, people are closeted all over the globe, so it's not 100% supported. But we are moving towards a time where people no longer have to live closeted lives and lead that lifestyle, which I believe has led to many of the problems of having to hide your true self. And I'm not saying like the entire world is not heterosexual. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that times have really changed, and they're still bringing this, quote unquote, normal way of doing things. Well, when everyone has been forced to live a certain lifestyle, including getting married and having kids, whether they actually truly wanted to or not, this is what happens when people start to wake up and realize you have a choice. And a lot of people still go down the paths that they want to, and that means getting married, having kids. We all know you don't have to be married to have kids, all that good stuff. But people are realizing that there's other options. But nobody wants to say that in articles, and no one wants to say that in government, and no one wants to really acknowledge this.
Yeah.
Except for us. So
well, and I'm going to go ahead and guess that they're not going to try to introduce better immigration policies, because some people would say, well, that's a fast way to help your society, is to allow easier immigration policies, because the immigrants who move there may want to have quote unquote traditional families, whatever it might be, and raise the birth rate. But
it's not their culture. I can hear it's not our culture. That's
I mean, we get in America, in the USA, we get it's the same thing. It's like, it's like, well, it's America. It's like, well, but we're built on immigrants. But anyway, that's a whole nother topic.
Yes.
So they've diving back into the article. They also have a genuine reason, as Japan is the world's third most expensive country to raise a child. Again, it goes back to where they use the term willing. They might be willing to, but they might not be able to.
Right.
So, I mean, again, it's as I've kind of mentioned before, like, hey, government entities and corporations of the world, if you're worried about the declining birth rates everywhere, when you think about the future, it's not always bright and shiny, and some people might not want to even do that. So
because it's pushing, like, just, we don't care about the quality of life you have, just reproduce.
Have more.
It just kind of goes through. It's also, sorry, I missed what you said. Can you repeat yourself?
No, I just said have more, be more, buy more. Everything's more, more. Yeah.
I don't know if there's more to this article, but they also don't address fertility, because that is something that's missing from this article as well. I mean, we focus on, like, the choice aspect of things, but there's the reality of women's fertility, and everywhere that is declining, and that's a whole other bazillion dollar industry. But anyway.
Yeah. And the next sentence here, it kind of talks about another a thing that kind of is the wall possibly to the willingness. And that is that, moreover, Japanese women earn 21.1% less than their male counterparts in 2021, nearly double the average gap in developed economies. Now, some people might argue statistics, and you can make statistics say whatever you want. So they might be factoring in, like, I don't know if this is like, if you're saying a quote unquote woman teacher versus a man teacher, or if it's just kind of across the board as a 21.1% counterpart. So like some people like to say, it's like, well, like, men do more dangerous jobs in a lot of countries and they get paid and compensated more for doing that. That's why there's a wage gap, blah, blah, blah. That's another topic altogether as well. But but whatever, the statistics here. So again, that kind of goes in the face of this quote unquote willingness to marry and reproduce that it mentions before. It's like, again, if your Japanese women can't earn enough to provide for the household, or or if it can't be a one income household with kids, then, again, there's your problem, people. Okay. So here's another particular problem: the connection between marriage and child reproduction. An academic in 2013 wrote in a paper, I'd say the name, but I'll probably not do well with it. When a single woman in Japan becomes pregnant, she only has two choices: having an abortion or enter unwillingly into a marriage. Choosing to have an illegitimate child is rarely seen as an option.
So why can't we talk about this? And by we, I don't mean us, but I mean, people want to throw policy and government and stuff as a Band-Aid, but again, let's talk about why people aren't, and not to talk about why people aren't willing to do this, the status quo, in an attempt to change their minds or to course correct. It's just, let's actually have the conversation as to why. Think about it. It's just, okay, they probably cover that in the next.
Well, I don't know. I have no idea. So it says women in Japan are marrying late. I mean, women, what about men in Japan? Women in Japan.
And what is late? After 30?
I guess we'll find out.
Okay.
Women in Japan are marrying late, and due to this, the childbirths are severely affected by it. According to the Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare, the average age of mothers giving birth to their first child rose to 30.9 in 2021, the highest since the records are being kept from 1930. So, but again, that goes back to the last sentence, I think, about women making less money. So if you don't feel prepared to be able to, raise a child in the home, and I mean, again,
and your options are to marry somebody you really don't want to get married to.
It's like they're not seeing the forest for the trees. It's like the problem is right there.
Exactly.
So, okay. So does it affect Japan's? does it affect Japan's economy as a heading? It says Japan's economy has only gone down in the last few years. Since 1990, the country's GDP has slowed from 4.9% to 0.3% in 2019, according to the World Bank. The average annual household has also declined from 6.59 million yen, which is $50,000 approximately in today's conversion, in 1995 to 5.64 million yen, which is 43,300 USD in 2020, according to more data from them. So, so people
which is
are
$1 million in Canadian money.
So again, I mean, they're saying, well, why aren't people having more kids? Well, let's see. The society looks down on single moms. They're not making as much money as the men. They're having to maybe possibly work later and put off having a family until later in life. That might be affecting the fertility rates. It's like, well,
and people want a different quality of life. When you realize you have different options, that's
so,
the thing. Like,
yeah, like offering like, potential government benefits to having a child. It can only do so much good when you have all these other social issues in the way. So,
yes,
and it's not just Japan. This is in a lot of the countries in the world. Let's see. Let me just scroll. Oh, that's the end.
And I'm going to throw it in one more time. They're still pushing the heterosexual narrative.
That is true. That is true. All right. So let's go to the next article that we didn't get to last week. This is from Newsweek.com. Coercive pro-birth policies have devastating impacts on people and the planet. This is an opinion piece by our friend Nandita. What's up, Nandita? Nandita Bajaj. She is the executive director of Population Balance, for those who don't know.
And a fabulous person. We met at an event in Toronto. Well, we met before, but in person we saw each other. So
let me close this ClickUp stuff. So, LeNora, do you want to take this one?
Sure. So she writes, with fertility rates falling, life expectancy rising, and population skewing older worldwide, governments are getting anxious. Will there be enough younger workers to maintain economic growth? And who will take care of retirees? This anxiety has helped fuel a surge of pronatalism, which means narratives and policies that encourage and sometimes coerce people to have children and disparage and sometimes punish those who don't.
I mean, again, immigration isn't an option for anyone, but whatever.
Reaction to Chelsea Handler's sketch comedy A Day in the Life of a Childless Woman is a case in point. In it, she joked about the benefits of her choice not to have children, triggering an outrage from conservatives. Imagine that. I'm going to say American conservatives. I don't know any conservatives in Canada that got mad at this, but anyway. The article goes on to say that should be recognized for what it is, a pronatalist backlash against people without children. Handler's sketch was silly, but the nerve it touched connects to something serious.
All right. Let's see.
Pronatalism is ascendant worldwide, from China's 3-child policy to 120 countries, including the United States, restricting abortion and clamping down on family planning. Such policies may such policies may serve economic, nationalist, religious, and xenophobic agendas. In fact, their rise tracks with rising right-wing populism in many countries.
We don't want to read the whole article. It's a pretty long article. We'll just kind of scroll. Let me see. Is there a heading anywhere? Let's see.
Oh, okay, let's
you
see
want to
this
cover
one.
that?
Yeah. Yet, despite this evidence, policymakers, journalists, and academics tend to minimize, dismiss, or simply ignore global population growth's negative impacts. Instead, they focus on populations declining in specific countries, including Japan, South Korea, Russia, and Italy, even as global population grows by 80 million per year. Reluctance to discuss population growth's harms is understandable in light of the history of coercion, which includes forced sterilization and abortion campaigns. But the silence is harmful and shouldn't continue. Exploring the advantages of lower population growth and examples of constructive interventions to achieve it need to be part of the debate.
Let's see. Let's scroll a little bit. That looks interesting.
Mm-hmm. Even progressives who champion women's rights and social justice can be unwittingly unhelpful on this front. The notion that you can have kids and fight climate change at the same time is meant to be empowering, but ignores how unrestrained growth drives climate change and biodiversity collapse. Arguing that we must diffuse the demographic time bomb to achieve shared prosperity and support retirees may be motivated by justice, but it also plays into pronatalist narratives that treat women's bodies as vessels for a growth agenda. Ooh, I love that line. Hate it in reality, but love how that's written. Such messages can be used to cover. Such messages can be used as cover to justify abortion bans and other policies that harm women. This discourse is ripe for reframing. Does population growth feed labor supply and fuel GDP growth and jobs for people, or does it primarily enrich the wealthy while expanding our environmental footprint? Can't we call out leaders who are fixated on GDP growth at all costs and consider the benefits of alternative approaches? Declining populations can prosper, and aging demographics can be a good deal for economies and for the planet.
Let's just kind of leave it at that, because that kind of plays into what we just read about the fear of Japan and the GDP going down. And yeah, so great article. Recommend you go check it out if you want to read the whole thing.
And we should plug her podcast. She has is it Population Balance? I'm gonna Google. She has a fantastic one of the top rated podcasts that Nandita co-hosts. I really want to plug it because it's really good. Sorry.
Keep up the good work. No problem. I'll go to the next article. So this is from Slurp with two
There we go.
R's.
Sorry. So Nandita's
ahead.
podcast, the Overpopulation Podcast. Please go listen to it, everybody.
There you go. So slurp.com, SLURRP.com. This says no kids allowed, not a viable option for Indian restaurants. So there was a few articles that were floating around the child-free sphere within the last few weeks about like some restaurant that said that they were going to have an 18 and up policy because, I mean, to us, obvious reasons, but basically the children were running rampant in the restaurant and disrupting other guests, and so they just kind of put a stop to it. And of course, they got backlash from parents or people that felt like that was calling out children, but Child Free people got behind it and said, cool, here's my reservation. So
it's respect. Didn't I say this last week? It's about respect. It's not about hating children. It's about creating a respectful society. Anyway.
All right. So this says, while the West is arguing over the pros and cons of having a no kids allowed policy at regular as well as fine dining restaurants, Indian restaurateurs are taking a more family-oriented yet modernized approach to it all. Slurp caught up with restaurateurs and young parents to understand if kid-free restaurants in India are viable or even necessary. All right, let's find out. So in February 2023, the news trickled across the world that a New Jersey restaurant, here we go, had come up with a no kids allowed policy. Nettie's House of Spaghetti, located in Tinton Falls, has banned children under the age of 10, which it'd be very interesting to see how many kids are 11 that come into that restaurant. That's just me thinking here. Effective as of
You'll be
March
11 in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Their reason was simple. Kids below 10 are very difficult to manage, and their presence disturbs other patrons. Nettie's is not the first establishment to come up with such a rule. Back in 2018, Uma's Kuche, Kuche in Rügen, Germany, decided to ban children below the age of 14 after 5 p.m. But how can you can't prove the age of kid? They don't have an ID on them. Anyway, to prevent their oasis of peace from turning into an unmanageable situation. Both establishments insisted in news reports that the policy was not targeted towards children, but rather their parents who cannot manage kids well, creating regular issues for restaurant staff and diners. Parents, on the other hand, could easily argue that as paying customers, it is their right to bring their kids along, and that children that young unintentionally make at least some noise and mess. It's inevitable. let's see. It says, but while the West is, I like how they say while the West is arguing, while America is arguing, while the West is arguing over the pros and cons of having no kids allowed policies at regular as well as fine dining restaurants. What about restaurants in India? There are restaurants with no kids allowed policies, whether it's throughout the day during specific times for kids of a certain age, or all a viable option for India. Let's just see what the meat and potatoes of this article is. We'll get real
Nice.
food oriented here. So let's see. The heading is a changing family oriented Indian scene. The first thing that needs to be understood is that India as a culture has always been very family oriented when it comes to eating out. Visiting a restaurant with the family, even in the 1990s, was usually seen as a special occasion that every member looks forward to. I mean, in the United States, I think it was like the exact same thing. So
I was gonna say in Canada, same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
India, you can't claim this for your own. Sorry, it's everywhere. You can never imagine a place like Narula's in Delhi banning children at any hour, with more theme-based or fine dining restaurants coming up in the
metropolises.
Thank you. This scene has changed. So there is a quote here. There is a latent need for diners at this time who are looking for intimate settings where they don't wish to be disturbed by the sound of children who aren't comfortable being seated for long durations. This is from someone.
Vegeta Singh, I'm going to say.
Thank you. Co-founder of Cobbler and Crew. Prune? Is that where it's located? Maybe Cobbler and Crew and Prune, maybe. Okay. There's also a need to be among crowds of similar age groups, so there will be restaurants coming up that will want to cater to those kinds of patrons. So the likelihood of completely kid-free restaurants in India are definitely there. This person's establishment doesn't allow kids up to a point, and they say we don't allow kids at the restaurant after 9 p.m. since this is when the music tends to get loud, which is an annoyance for kids, especially toddlers and young ones.
And when they're playing on their phones all the time, they want to hear what's on YouTube, not what's going on the PA system.
and they want you to hear what's on YouTube next to them as well.
Right, that's true.
So let me just see if I can scroll here.
I want to say,
yeah,
I don't know if you've taken kids to restaurants. I've taken my nephews to restaurants, never like high-end fine dining. I think the fanciest that they want to go to is the Red Lobster. So I've taken them there. And, when they're with Auntie, the kids are well behaved. But also, too, on last weekend, Emma and I, my childhood friend Emma here in the city, we went out to a restaurant downtown. And she said there was this kid running around, and I was completely oblivious because I'm with kids and pets. I zone out. Like, I don't see them. So she just said, there was no age limit on this place. I have been to, decent or nice restaurants where they have 14 and under not allowed after 5 p.m. And it says on the website, so that, and I'm in Alberta, Canada. So, it does exist. And I think it's necessary. We were out, after 7 on a Friday night, having a nice meal and having a long conversation. So, I didn't see the kids, but she said there were some there running around, and I believe her. I just I zone out when it comes to children, generally speaking. So, that is an annoyance.
So if a parent comes across us talking about this, so what is it that goes through like the parental brain at a restaurant? Because
I'm assuming they want to have a conversation with, have a good time.
I would think so. If they want to do some adulting, they want to chat with another adult that might be there. Mm-hmm. Is it a matter of saying, well, there are other people here, so my kid is safe in this establishment? Do you feel overly confident that they won't get hurt or that no one will steal them or something? I don't know, but what's the parental thought on like the kids kind of being disruptive, for lack of a better term, whether it's running around, having a loud tablet or whatever it might be.
Can I say, I have an assumption that they also zone out too because they're just tired of dealing with it and they deal with it all the time. And they're just like, you know what? Yeah. I just want to eat and we're paying a lot of money for this meal and the kids are going to be kids and no one's going to say anything because we're in a public place.
Yeah. It's like
because they're just tired.
It's like the penguins down in Antarctica. Like the mothers know the little chicks noise over all the other little chicks' noises. So if they hear that, then they kind of key into it. But otherwise, it's just all white noise to them.
Oh, okay.
Did you read something?
No. I was
Oh,
just thinking of
that's
what
what I
you
said.
said. No, I didn't think of it that way, but you know.
Okay, so
There's
let's
a
see.
pop-up. Did you not see it? It was the most amazing thing ever.
Oh, darn it. So it says managing kids and young parents in Indian restaurants. For young Indian parents who want the best of both worlds, this middle path has its benefit too. So Junie, nope, not saying that. A Delhi girl now bringing up a 2-year-old in Philadelphia, USA, says that dining in India with a kid present is a mixed bag, even at places like the Taj Palace in Delhi, where when asked for a baby chair at the restaurant, they didn't have one. For an infant, and I had to use my scarf to tie my daughter into a chair just so she wouldn't roll down. Okay. On the other hand, the cultural distinctions between the West and India benefits young parents. When we eat out in the US, one of us has to entertain the child. In India, at many places, when we ate out, the staff member helped us to entertain her so we could have our meal in peace. So,
wow.
So kind of there, it's what I was saying. So do parents kind of expect someone else to entertain the child?
I
And
wonder.
let alone, it's nice that a staff member does that, but they're also a staff member. They need to take care of the other patrons there.
Right.
But
this, I mean, this is clearly a different culture from what we're used to. So,
and I've seen staff members doing that too. Like I've seen staff members like playing with the kids at tables and stuff. And that again it's a nicety when they do it, but it shouldn't be expected.
Well, actually, I mean, okay, again, I know this from having nephews and taking them out, is that they're handed out, if they're 12 and under, they're handed coloring books and crayons at basically any kind of family restaurant. There's something like they have a kids menu, but there's something to keep them entertained. Of course, nowadays, I shouldn't say every kid has a cell phone, but my nephews had cell phones at ridiculously young ages. So they're on their phones half the time watching something because every restaurant has to have Wi-Fi here in the West. You know? So I don't come from a culture where the younger generation takes care, like generations take care of other generations necessarily, So it's electronics.
Yeah.
But my point is that, generally speaking, family-oriented restaurants that do serve children have entertainment for them. McDonald's has the play pit thingy, the playground. I don't know what they called it, but Toyland or whatever, right? I mean, I guess that's how we solve that issue is like there's a space for kids to go run around in.
Yeah. And in the United States, it's a tip heavy culture as far as gratuities go. And so, I mean, paying some extra special attention to the kid might get you a better tip. I get it. Like,
I guess I think, okay. I didn't know. I've never seen a wait staff look after children before. To me, it just screams lawsuit.
I mean, don't touch the kid. Don't like pick them up and walk around with them. Yeah, you're looking for stranger danger.
Where did the child go? Yeah, okay. All right.
Let's roll to the next article.
Before this goes down a dark place.
Yeah. So this is americamagazine.org. This is
Jesuit review. Oh, this is promising. Okay.
Oh, I mean, the heading alone sells it all. Motherhood is not a hobby. A Catholic mom responds to comedian Chelsea Handler. So
all right, place your bets, everybody. I love this photo of her. Okay.
It's from 2012. I'm sure she would appreciate them using it too. So yeah,
no doubt. She looks really great.
So the comedian Chelsea Handler recently set the internet ablaze with her monologue, The Daily Show, about being childless by choice. We're all pretty familiar with the story at this point. So let's kind of see what this person says about it.
Can I remind people that this is a comedy piece?
It is.
I mean, there's truth. There's a lot of truth to it. I think it's all true, but her delivery, she's a comedian. People are just so up in arms about it. Anyway.
Well, and there is some reading between the lines. Like, they took a quote from her here. She says, Miss Handler, I have an infinite respect for moms, but motherhood is hard. So, I mean, saying that alone, it's like, yeah, she clearly has made a well thought out decision to not have kids,
Mhm.
but that's not acceptable by other people. Miss Handler's, and this is in quotes here, Miss Handler's seeming to value what many consider transient pleasure at best and vices at worst over the deeper joys of parenthood clearly touched a cultural nerve.
Okay, wording issue. Can you scroll back up again
Yeah,
to
yeah,
that? It's so condescending. I mean, look, this is someone's opinion. Okay, that's their opinion, but they state it as fact. Transient pleasures at best. Look, that alone, we should just move on to the next article because my blood pressure is going to go up with that. People, okay, I'm going to say pronatalism likes to discount anything that benefits an individual. That's how I see it.
or you're
If
deemed
something
selfish.
brings you
You're
joy,
just selfish. You're selfish for
right.
this.
Look,
Yeah.
I love living alone. It brings me immense joy to live alone. I do many things for many people, and I don't feel I live a self-serving life. But I also I do put my needs first, which sounds like it's self-serving, but it makes me a better person. I need space. I don't do well when I'm constantly bombarded with people. That includes children. I don't consider that a transient pleasure, but pronatalism does. They would look at my life. They would look at the, my choice to live by myself in a house that can fit a family, a quote unquote family with children, and they would consider that a transient pleasure at best. That is diminishing me. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't like the way it's worded. It's meant to diminish how I live because I'm not procreating. I take great displeasure in that. Well, no, I don't
I
take
mean,
great. I feel great displeasure in that. The
I
way
don't
they
think
word
this
it.
is a I don't think this is a middle of the road kind of article. So
No, and so this is my sincere reaction
yeah,
to that. It's just
yeah.
okay. Let's
All right.
continue.
So let's see. Thus, many of the reactions to Miss Handler's declaration of child-free happiness made one of 2 points. First, that the joys of motherhood trump those of a child-free life, and second, that Miss Handler's and other childless women will eventually face the sadness of morality without the companionship of children and grandchildren. So
It's relying on a lot of people outside of yourself for happiness, people. That's a problem. But okay, that's just my opinion.
yeah.
Sorry.
That's fine. Oh, we got a pop-up. This is why you've got me doing this.
Okay.
And I'll save you all the pop-up clicking. So let's see. A pro-life activist, Abby Johnson, emphasized the first point, tweeting. Tweets are always important. I wouldn't trade my husband and beautiful kids for a life of meaningless hookups with strangers, alcohol, and loneliness. Good luck finding a mom who would. End quote.
Have you not read the news? There are mothers killing their children for exactly that. Hookups with strangers, alcohol, and loneliness. By the way, can we shout out a child and the cradle will fall, a child-free look at true crime, which is on our Childfree Media podcast hosted by Childfree Sister. She will go into that, discrediting that whole sentence right there.
All right. Yeah.
This article, okay, you've picked a good article to fire me up there, Cody.
All right. If you're watching the video, LeNora's head will explode in about 2 minutes. So let's see. So this common response to Miss Handler's child-free preening has been around since the anti-family subtext of some extreme iterations of second wave feminism stoked the backlash. That's the weirdest sentence I've ever had to read. But it says this common response. Is that a common? I'm a common person. That's not a common response.
Look, I'm a female who runs a child-free account. You see that all the time. But to your point, the weirdest sentence that you've ever read is this trying to is this a Christian or a Catholic woman trying to make peace with Chelsea Handler? Because I'm kind of reading like that she's trying to look at this from both sides, but I don't know if that's where this article is going.
We'll find out.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's see. So let me scroll down.
This is a great article. It's just making me giving me all sorts of feelings.
Let's see. Meanwhile,
what was the second thing that she was trying to say?
Oh,
sorry.
No, it's fine. You're right. She did say a second thing. Did they even talk about that?
Because she uses the word preening, so I'm like, the author of this article is not in favor, but she's trying to defend her at the same time.
Yeah, I don't see
The desire for
I don't see where it says
yeah.
a second
Okay.
thing.
All right.
Maybe they do later. It says, meanwhile, the Blaze's Sarah Gonzalez articulated the second point. Here we go.
Okay. All right.
Stating, this self-serving, hedonistic, narcissistic woman will wonder when she's 70 why she didn't make better choices when nobody wants her and she eventually dies alone. Why do people get so fixated on how terrible child-free people's lives will be in the future when no one knows the future, let alone, I mean, retirement homes could be like amazingly awesome,
And
but you have to have money to get into them. So
can we do another plug? We had a child-free panel, 60 plus.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, guys, go to Childfree Media YouTube. Well, actually, you already are on Childfree Media YouTube if you're watching this live stream. We have the last year's panel from Childfree Convention. We have the Childfree 60 plus. When I see comments like that, I go and I type them. I tell people, if you actually want to know what a child-free life over the age of 60 can possibly be like, go listen to our panelists describe their life. Mm-hmm. It's not going to speak for everybody, but it gives you an idea that, look, you're still alive. There's still, people just have... I don't know if they're trying to do it to convince us that we should have children because, oh my gosh, we're gonna have no life when that's so not true. But
I like how they try to make it sound like 70 is gonna be, you're gonna be totally bored at 70. Like people at 70 are climbing mountains, like they're like literal mountains. Like, but 70 years old is.
They tell us younger people, 30 and up, they say 50, but Chelsea Handler is over 50. So they can't say 50. They have to say 70 and then 90. Well, by then, if you've lived, and this is okay, if you've lived 70 years the way you've wanted to, and you're still like enjoying life, and then maybe 6 months before you die, you're like, I wonder what it would like to have kids. I still think that's a success.
But then you'll be like, but my life was awesome.
Exactly. People discredit. That's living in the future. Anyway, all right, let's continue. The author of Sex and the City, they talk about her too. This one you should read. Please
dive into it.
But
you go for it, please.
Okay. The specter of child. What? They use weird words for this. I'm trying to find the context of why they're saying this. Okay, sorry. The specter of children unbegotten that many argue will haunt an older mishandler is sorry, like what the fuck? is presently visiting. Oh, so this is like the ghost of the ghost of child-free regret future. Is present that's how I need to rephrase that. Okay, so the ghost of child-free choice regret future is presently visiting, I guess it's present, is presently visiting Sex and the City author Candace Bushnell, now 60. She says she recently stated that she started to see an impact of not having children and of being truly alone. I do see that people with children have an anchor in a way that people who have no kids don't. Fair. I wouldn't argue with that. I mean, I would to a point, but all right. This concern rightly has broad purchase in today's culture. This is so biblical speaking here. At a moment when a larger percentage of women than ever before are childless in their mid-40s. I mean, look, some people read that and may feel fearful. I look at this as hopeful because as more of us speak out, and we're creating platforms for this reason, there's going to be so much evidence and possibilities as to a future living child-free and not in a dire way. This is why we are doing what we do to inspire that change and to help with that. So personally, I'm not worried. Okay.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'm just I've got so many thoughts, but I need to calm down for a second.
Just think about the future and just never mind that. Think of the present. So someone who is 70 and child-free did not grow up with the community that the child-free community is currently building right now.
Correct.
So, whatever, 30, 40 years ago, they didn't have this in their 20s and 30s to, help them and give them, a sounding board or a community to go to with questions and concerns. And, if they do have regrets about what they're doing or second thoughts, like there might be other people thinking the same thing, and talking it out might alleviate those regrets. And then you're like, oh yeah, that's why I chose to be child free. And so, us at our 70s is totally different than what these people are expecting. They think 70 is like frozen, like that is who you are. You're going to be in an old folks home, not doing awesome things.
Right.
And not to say that whatever grandparents that are 70 years old, great grandparents, who cares? They can do awesome things. Like the older generation can do awesome things. So as a Gen Xer myself, we will not go quietly into the night. We will do awesome things. So get ready, 70s, 80s, and 90s. We're coming for you.
I want to make a comment on the anchoring aspect of things, and I'm going to quote my dad, which might seem like a weird thing, but my dad and I had this conversation because he's in mid 60s, and obviously he had 2 children. Well, not obviously, but obviously he had kids because he's my dad. And, he married a woman who chose not to have children. And he was talking about how, what keeps him interested and keeping his mind active. And he referenced having familiarity, and not family in the sense of family, but something from the past that always brings him back to anchor him, something as a memory that he says that helps him have a strong memory going forward. And he never said that it had necessarily, like, he does use us kids as an example, but he's very supportive of my choice not to have kids. He has siblings that don't have to have kids, that didn't want to have kids and chose not to have kids. But he made the point of, like, you can, whether it's friends, whether it's work colleagues, people that are part of your past from as far back as possible, he's like, that's good. He never feels like it needs to be his kids, because my dad actually has quite an extensive social life. He is good friends with people that he was good friends when my mom was alive and they knew as couples. Like my dad's a pretty loyal person. He goes back a long way with people, and people like my dad. And he doesn't look at me and my brother as his only source of connection to the past. So when you're talking about anchoring, people only a lot of people tend to focus only on who they've bred or spawned or whatever, right? But it's so much, there's so many more options of that. But do people make the effort? I'm just going to throw that question out there. Do people make the effort? You can use anything to anchor your past.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
Anyway, that's a whole other podcast episode. I'm going to get on that.
Let's see. So there's a quote here. It says, for Miss Handler, parenthood is best understood as an all-consuming hobby.
Is she wrong?
Well,
I mean, hobby is an odd word, but for some people, I think it is.
Let me go back up to the heading. So
because people get bored. Like, people go, oh, I have nothing to do, so I'm gonna have kids.
So I mean, just the heading, motherhood is not a hobby. This is by Elizabeth Grace Matthew. Elizabeth, I agree with you. Motherhood is not a hobby. Like, we're in complete agreement there. It's something that should be taken very seriously. Parenthood in general.
But I think some people. Well, never mind. I'll need to define people before I say that statement. Okay.
Well, but I mean, I guess that's the thing. It's like, it's not a hobby, but I think they're trying to oversimplify her satire and her joke. This is satire and a joke. She's, putting a magnifying glass on her child-free lifestyle and embellishing it. So,
well, and people say, some people say it's a job. Some people say it's not a job. Some mothers say it's a job. Some mothers don't say it's a job. Say it's not a job. Sorry. It's, again, no one can, it triggers people in so many different ways. And I think, for those where it's your entire identity, possibly because it's been taught it's supposed to be our identity, and now that identity is being quote unquote, like, attacked, we're all just spewing words trying to get our point across. And it's these are the choices that we've made, and nobody wants to be, parents don't want to be attacked for their choice. Childhood people don't want to be attacked for their choice. Can't we all just get along? Well, right now, probably not. But
she recognizes parents in the beginning of, like, that first quote. It's like, like, whatever it said, like, being mom is tough. Like, like, she gives props. Like,
why do you? Yeah. Oh, sorry. Chelsea said that. Okay. Never mind. Then what I was going to say next doesn't matter. It's not relevant. So, okay.
Yeah. So we'll continue real quick so we can get through this article. It says when we parents, and in parentheses, this person has 3 children, attempt to counter Miss Handler's video by arguing that the joys of parenthood are greater than those of personal freedom, we are unintentionally accepting Miss Handler's framing of parenthood as essentially a high-stakes lifestyle choice.
But why are you arguing that the joys of parenthood are greater? Because I'm going to interrupt here because I saw this last week, and this has to do with Seth Rogen. I actually thought we were going to be talking about him today. Maybe we'll talk about him next week, depending on how much time we have. But okay,
he's in the list.
Okay, so those videos have been circulating within, you know, around the internet, around social media, and so I've seen so many arguments where parents are going, you can't know that not having kids is greater than having kids, because I was child free once, and then I chose to have kids, and I've started saying to those people, you weren't child free, you were just currently without children. That's different from consciously choosing to not have kids, is how we define being child free here anyway. So, or at least how I define it. So you weren't anticipating having a life not having kids, so you thought at some point you were going to have kids. You can't compare the two that way either. So this woman who wrote the article is wanting to argue that the joys of parenting for her are greater than personal freedom, because she wasn't probably ever seeking personal freedom. So she can't make that assumption either. That's just her personal experience.
So right? Is she admitting that they lose personal freedom when they become parents?
No, she says she's unintentionally accepting that it's a high stakes lifestyle, but actually it is. You don't know what you're getting. You could have the next Hitler. You could have like the next average person, which I think most people do. You know, like
as I like to say, like you should hope for at least average. Like you should hope for average. Like that's
exactly. Not everyone's going to be awesome child-free lifestyle advocates, right? Like Cody and me. So it's just like, seriously, when I see this, I wish their children happy child-free lives. That's how I love to say it, because, you know, the kids are happy. The parents are going, wait, what do we do wrong? They don't want to have kids. That's me just being slightly vindictive.
So they go to say, so rightly understood, children do not exist to bring us happiness or to anchor us. Instead, we exist to cultivate in them the understanding that some things, like stewardship of the next generation, are more important than happiness, and to anchor them in this and other holy beliefs.
Two thumbs down. No. I give up.
Yeah,
sorry, you talk and then I'll.
No, well, I mean, the fact that they say like stewardship of the next generation, I would think that, again, being child free should be applauded for having an extreme amount of thought for the next generation. You know, it's given no credit for the fact that, you know, it is taking out the 2.07 people that would also be in existence in the world in the future, and then that would then be multiplied. Again, I'm not an antinatalist. I don't care if people have kids. I really don't care how many people kids have. It's up to them. It's their choice. But with that thought, people aren't going to stop having kids. So the humanity will continue into the future. But the whole thing about stewardship for the next generation,
there's so many ways to what is that quote from that movie Lucy, where Morgan Freeman says, you know, you can have kids to pass on your ideas, or you can create something. So when you die, your thoughts, your creation still benefits those who come after you. Like there are other ways of, which I think is so true. Like if you feel compelled to do that, not everybody wants to do anything for the next generation. They just want to simply live their life because someone gave birth to them, and so they have no other choice. Yeah. There's that. But, you know, I mean, there's so many other ways to impact the next generations besides having them. Anyway.
The last articles we had in the beginning about GDPs and declining birth rates and blah, blah, blah. So maybe it takes child-free people like us talking about that, and then always pointing out for the fact that like immigration is always an option. It sounds like you have more social issues that are causing people to not desire to have kids. So look at that instead of incentives. You can't just throw money at this problem and be like, oh, well, we'll make childcare, you know, free. Great. It doesn't matter if there isn't a happy household for that child, if the child can't eat. I mean, there's so many things to pile on top of that. So the a child-free person like myself might say to those who do want to have kids, or to the governments and businesses that are behind the machine, there's a lot of problems to fix. So, again, like,
And
to
also
it.
to keep in mind, this is a from a religious standpoint.
Mhm.
So,
Good point.
The religious organization Reed cult that I grew up in was very, it wasn't like you have to have so many kids, but they did espouse the importance of having multi-generations. My dad had a set of grandparents who belonged to this organization. His parents did not belong. It was my dad, and then my mom, and then I was born into it. My brother was born into it. My brother never officially participated. When he was of age of understanding, he went his own way. I officially left at the age of 25. So there is no generations anymore. Now it's just my dad, and I think he has one cousin. But I remember hearing, like, I know people that can't leave because they are generations deep. And that's the point. They want to be anchored into this belief system, this they say it's a lifestyle choice. It's a total cult. Like, it has no name. But I mean, like, to me, I see all religions, like, the more deeper your family is entrenched in this, of course you want to have kids. I mean, I can, like, that's what they want. And to sacrifice happiness, and look, happiness is fleeting. We're happy one minute, not happy the next. Like, I like the word contentment, or at least you feel like you can express yourself, whether that's happiness or whatever. But it's that cycle of humanity is just going to keep on that wheel of never really feeling content or satisfied, or like they can be themselves, because they just have to keep going with the next generations. And some want to genuinely, fine. But for those that don't want to and have chosen not to, I think we're on to something, because
Yeah.
why are people afraid to be happy, like truly happy, and not happy because they have a house or this or that, or a career or whatever, just happy for the sake of being happy?
Well,
Why
on
are
the
people
internet,
afraid of
there are
that?
studies and competitions of who is more happy, child-free people or parents.
Right.
It's like,
And that's just such a surfacey thing.
it is.
I'm tired of it.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
another episode. But
so we'll close up this article. We'll read the last paragraph, which usually sums things up. So
I'm
it
getting
says,
really hot under this wig.
it says, moreover, a Catholic understanding of parental vocation. I mean, I feel like the words, like, they were, like, they were going for like a higher reading level than is necessary for the article. But
Yeah.
so moreover, a Catholic
Okay.
understanding of parental vocation that is predicated on purposeful stewardship, in quotes, rather than on happiness or on the avoidance of loneliness, end parenthesis, also makes room for the experiences of non-parents who live purposeful lives. All those words confused what I was. Okay, anyway, so the last sentence: the vast majority of people without children, after all, would find it both financially impossible and personally undesirable to live the lives of unrestrained nihilism.
Okay, what I'm going to say next has nothing to do with, well, it has nothing to do with the subject of this article. It's about how this article was written, because I was scripting out another podcast episode that I'm working on, and the word dichotomy came to mind, and I thought, that's such a freaking pretentious word. I'm not going to use it, because not all of our audience is, like, English is not everyone's first language, and I love big words. I get a kick out of them. I like when they're used, and I don't mind using them. But generally speaking, in content, I like to keep it, I'm going to say, simple, basic, easy to read.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to prove my intelligence here. I want everyone to connect with what I'm saying. So I chose not to use that word. And then I Googled the term pretentious words, because I wanted to see what people were saying on the internet about when they come across content that uses all of these words that are fantastic, but you're not really thinking. It's kind of like to make yourself look good as opposed to the audience. And this is how I feel about this article.
Like the whole last paragraph that I just read, like, I feel like there were some good points in it,
Yeah,
and some talking points that we could either be for or against. But again, it was so wordy. I've already lost what it basically said. So,
right.
not knocking the author. I'm sorry, but yeah, it's. Yeah. Anyway,
because honestly, I don't quite know her stance towards Chelsea Handler. Like, sometimes I get the impression that she's trying to say, look, she made a choice. I don't agree with it, but it's not terrible. There's these extreme comments of hatred towards her, but I can't tell from this because she's not. It's not clear based on the words that she's using. To your point,
yeah. Okay, we're at the hour mark, but there's one more story. I'm gonna squeeze this one in, so we'll see how far we get in it because it's.
I'm gonna give you even though really this is it's out of control what kind of articles we get, but you're picking really good articles because.
Thank you. Yeah. So this one is at yourtango.com, and it's woman calls out Childfree by choice, Childfree with a hyphen, community for hating on kids and moms.
Well, yeah, but she's referencing Reddit, Childfree Reddit, which is already the problem.
Which, yeah, we get it.
Sorry, Reddit.
That's all right.
Reddit admins.
Nia Tipton wrote this. But I just found it was very interesting because in the Childfree Convention, we have a topic on what is aggressively child-free. And when I read this heading, I'm like, oh, that sounds somewhere along the lines of what we're possibly going to talk about. I don't know. Again, I didn't really read this article, but the heading is what caught my attention. So it says, when it comes to people who are parents and have children versus those who choose not to, there are often clear social divides between the two. Anyone who is child-free with a hyphen, either by choice or not, knows the pain of constantly having to explain why you don't have kids, but in an effort to defend their situation, some members of the child-free community may inadvertently offending parents and kids. Are kids reading these articles? To some extent, to some extent, many child-free adults don't always have the same sympathetic nature towards children that parents have. And in some cases, parents can also display that same behavior with their own kids. So there was a TikTok video, a woman called out the child-free adults who shame parents and their children by acting in an uncaring manner towards them. Let's see. The woman in the video, a woman named Liberty, advocated for children and parents, writing that hating kids isn't edgy, in quotes. In an overlay text, she calls out people who often say phrases about kids such as, in quotes, children shouldn't be allowed on planes in public, or they, quote unquote, the I hate children statements. Let's see. So it says, hating on kids isn't edgy, cool, or radical, Liberty wrote. Imagine openly showing contempt for the most universally victimized and vulnerable group, and often their mothers too. In another video, Gabriella called out the way people often speak about children and mothers, especially on social media. And in her quotes, if you hate kids, say less. I've been child-free for most of my adult life. Wait, most of it? Oh, I guess never mind. She's child-free. Got it. But some of the stuff you guys are saying about children and parents, let's be honest, it's about moms. You guys aren't safe. Okay. Let's see. Gabrielle noted that she is a mother to her 2-year-old son. Wait, Gabriella, which one is that? Is that the second one or the first one? Oh, wait. So that's what confused me. So in another video, Gabrielle calls out people.
New mother, but again, okay.
But she says, this goes to your point, what you said earlier. I've been child-free for most of my adult life, but now she has a 2-year-old. That's not the same.
You unless you were choosing to, if you consciously chose not to have kids and then changed your mind, okay, if you were currently without kids, knowing you were probably gonna have kids later, I'm sorry, to me that you're not child-free. But she does use the hyphen, so
gatekeeper.
Yeah, this is me gatekeeping a little bit. I mean, for the sake of this is confusing people.
It is, and that's why. Anyway, so Gabriella noted that she's a mother to her 2-year-old son, and criticized child-free adults who use the excuse that parents, quote, choose to have children, and now you must suffer in all things perpetuity. When I hear these things, it really doesn't surprise me that women go through so much postpartum anxiety and depression. And there are a lot of parents that leave the workforce because they don't feel supported. She added that many parents, especially mothers, don't experience such empathy from other people and are often left without a support system by child-free people in their lives. So
I believe it.
Well, they're making it sound like the child-free community and the individual, it makes it sound like there's a lot of them in these people's lives. Like it's the child-free people's fault that there's postpartum anxiety and depression and people leave the workforce. I mean,
again, I mean, this is like you said. Okay, you always make the point how you can make stats say whatever you want. Just like these articles, it's making it seem like it's demonizing the child-free community. Yeah, I agree. There is a lot of angry content in child-free spaces. Absolutely. I'm not denying that. And at the same time, again, this is like no one's investigating as to why there's a lot of anger, or they just brush it off. And this is where, to me, it's like this uphill climb that we're constantly that we're on, of putting out the choice awareness, but also looking at what's being said, because there's that last article from a religious standpoint where it's saying all people who choose not to have children are choosing a lesser life. People are angry about that. So then they're going to lash out. They're going to say what they're going to say. And some people genuinely hate kids, and some kids. And, I mean, there's people.
I mean, not just kids. Some people hate the adults too.
Exactly. So, I mean, like everyone's like, we don't live in a time where people bottle up what, like, they say what they're going to say. Yeah. So to me, I look at all of this, all the different conversations happening, and everyone's yelling and angry and mad at each other. I'm like, this is such a freaking mess. And it really is, because this is going to continue for a while. And, I look at what we're doing with Childfree Media and convention and all these, and International Childfree Day and all these things. It's like, we're like this little tiny engine going, all right, we're going through this mess of everyone's angry at everybody else and accusing everybody of hatred and miscommunication. And all these things I feel right now need to be said just to get it out. And one day we're going to be like, all right, everybody, let's talk about it. And we can talk about it. We're not there yet. We're going to have to wade through all these articles because, people are just tired of being picked on if they have kids. They're tired of being picked on if they don't have kids. No one's winning right now.
Yeah.
That's how I see it.
Well, and let's not act like it's not like other parents doing similar things to other parents. Like
exactly. There's a lot of judgment within the motherhood community. Absolutely. I don't have to be a mother to know that.
Yeah, we hear about it. Like that's the thing. Like we have ears and we have eyes and we read articles. So yeah, it's not just like the postpartum. All, they're acting like it's coming from the child. It sounds like it's like the child-free people are causing that, and it's not. It's a lack of support in their social structure, in their community, in their village.
Pronatalism. Pronatalism is the cause of all of this crap.
It causes a lot of pressure. Just in general, I mean, even for parents and for new mothers, pronatalism tells you that is the happiest point of your life that you should ever have. And if you don't feel that way, there's something wrong with you.
Yes.
That's wrong. People shouldn't be taught that or be told that. It's okay to not feel okay. But pronatalism doesn't prescribe to that ethos. It's that brings the house of cards down. Anyway, that's my little tirade, but let's just wrap up this quick article.
You need to tirade, because I tirade a lot in this show as we get going.
It says these constant back and forth disagreements between people who are child free and people with children don't solve any actual issues and only cause a further social divide. Yeah, I agree. That's all this. Hash it out. Anyway, so the last paragraph is, there is no value added if someone chooses to have children or not. But what does matter is carrying empathy, compassion, and sympathy for people who need it, no matter which side of the line they happen to fall under, which is kind of what I just said, except pronatalism doesn't want this to happen.
Correct.
And if I'm wrong in that, if someone's a pronatalist expert and that doesn't sound accurate of what I just said, please correct me in the comments. Send us an email. I'm happy to hear it and talk with you about it.
I'm really curious about that. There is no value added if someone chooses to have kids or not. That's actually a really good point. I never thought about it like that. It's like, okay, now this is my personal belief. So if someone believes in heaven and hell, like, this is not a personal attack against you if you're listening to this. Someone once told me, and this really calmed my mind down after I was leaving the cult. They said, it's not to them, there was no heaven and hell. It was the people. It was all in your mind. And when you die, it's the people that are doing your funeral that either put you in heaven or hell, whatever. And I was like, oh. So, I mean, you know, it's what people assign. So pronatalism assigns a good label to having kids, regardless of the circumstances those kids are conceived in or born into. Pronatalism assigns bad to the choice not to have children. If that did not exist and we just did what we did and there was no someone assigning good and bad, would it exist? Like there is no, I like that. Can you put that on a t-shirt?
Probably.
But I mean, think about it. It's really, that's actually a peaceful statement. Now, I mean, the reality of it is it's not expressed that way because we are battling pronatalism all the time. But that is a really good thought. I really do like that thought. So points for that article, just for that line, not for a lot of it, but for that line.
So that'll wrap up t.w.i.c This Week in Child Free. LeNora, how can people find us?
So you can go to our website, childfreemedia.com. From there, you can subscribe to our weekly newsletter, which has all of the latest podcast episodes from Childfree Media. And we have a variety of shows. I think we're at over 42 episodes now. We have weekly episodes coming out for a variety of things. We also feature other content creators on and their podcasts in that newsletter. Any live events happening in the Childfree community, any book releases, anything of interest, anything of notable interest that people submit. You can submit something, or you can just, sign up and read for free the weekly newsletter. You can also find us on social media, obviously on YouTube. We're on LinkedIn because some people are probably watching there. We're on Twitter at Childfree Media. We're on Facebook at Childfree Media. We're on Instagram. Guess what? At Childfree Media. We're even on TikTok. So, just Google Childfree Media and you'll find us everywhere.
Yeah. So anytime content creators,
yes.
if we're not already promoting you, let us know when you release new blogs, podcasts, web series episodes, whatever it is. Whenever you drop something, let us know. We want to promote it. It's what we do.
And shout out to Sapphire's phone. I'm not sure who that is, but thank you for watching in the audience. We appreciate you.
And the shout out there. Yeah. So with that being said, we'll see you on the next t.w.i.c. Catch you later.
Have a good
Bye.
one.